Neither of us are really big horror fans. Like, I'm not really big into slasher movies or like Friday the 13th, or I especially hate like Saw and all that like torture porn. But stuff like this, which has a little bit of that spooky like edge to it, but like in like there's you know scary stuff going on.
It's more suspense
than exactly. This movie would never be made the same way today. God forbid they ever try and remake this. Don't, because we don't need a take for modern audiences. I like the 80s-ness of this version. I
think it stands up.
Yeah.
You know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Renegades of the Podcast, a monthly podcast for all the aliens, hosted by us, Unheard, Sirens Incorporated. I am Remy.
I'm Juliet.
Yes, and we are Unheard, Sirens Incorporated. We are a pop duo. We do pop music from an alternate universe, which is our combo of synth pop and synthwave and retro wave, and we make music for freaks and weirdos like us. We also we're also lifelong nerds, and we love devoting this podcast to talking about stuff that inspires our music and also inspires us, stuff that we love to geek out about and go deep on.
You said go deep.
I did. Yep. And we also make innuendos every now and again.
Apparently.
Or they just happen out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. They come to us.
Innuendos happen. And this is our very special spooky edition of the podcast.
It is the most wonderful time of the year. That's right. Yes. Spooky season, our favorite season.
We just carved these lovely little wee pumpkins yesterday.
Sure.
They're our nieces.
We are definitely partly goth, and it is goth Christmas is upon us. So yeah, this is our annual spooky episode. Definitely one we've been looking forward to. And one last year around this time we did a review of The Crow, which was cool for us. It was one I hadn't seen yet. I knew about it, but I hadn't seen the movie yet, and we got to review it with our good friends Kate and Max of Outworld Sound. So that was a fun time. So this year coming around, we're like, okay, spooky season is almost upon us. What are we going to cover? And so we were thinking about it. We were thinking hard about it, and you suggested this movie we're going to review first tonight. Mm-hmm. We have two topics tonight. We're going to do a music review later in the episode, but this first topic, we're doing a review of an 80s classic, an 80s spooky classic. We're talking about The Lost Boys. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
One of the best of the vampire movies.
For sure. And so I guess getting into it, like how did you what's your first memory of seeing this movie?
Seeing The Lost Boys? I definitely saw it after it came out, and I just was blown away by the sort of visual impact of the film. And I just remember that the opening scene, not with them arguing about the soundtrack in the car, which is cute, but once they get onto the boardwalk. For me, the movie starts when they're on the boardwalk.
Oh yeah.
Which is actually Santa Cruz, and they call it Santa Carla. and then People Are Strange drops. And I actually didn't know that song by The Doors before that movie, because it came out when I was young. And then people are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. And then it goes right into a vampire like scene, where they're going to go like steal somebody in the night who dare to talk badly to them. And just the opening really stuck with me. And there's so many classic lines in it. So it's just it's full of these crazy and the delivery of the lines is cheesy and awesome. And there's a part where he bites into one of the surf Nazis, I think they call them in the credits, when they most of the way through the film, hey Michael, now you know what we are, now you know what you are. It's that scene. And he bites into one of the skulls and rips his head up, and you see his brain. I remember that was just because it just Because it's not a slasher film. It's not showing tons of gore, just a few times. And that scene is one where it's just like a few like blood sprays, but then just that one image of just like ripping the guy's skull.
Yeah, it is classified as horror, and there might be just a couple of things here and there, like
just a moment.
If you're super squeamish, then but like it's more
like
fun.
A
it's more like a drama action. Yeah, and it's got a great amount of that trademark 80s cheese, which you either love or you hate. And me personally, being a fan of the 80s, I love it. In fact, we got to talk about, early in the movie, they're going out on him and it's two brothers who are the kind of the main characters that centers around. Younger brother played by Corey Haim. Both of the Coreys, the famous 80s Coreys, Corey Haim and Feldman, are both in this movie. And Corey Haim is kind of the main, younger lead, and then his older brother Michael is with him, and they kind of hit the town when they first move in. They move in with their grandpa. That's the whole thing, is they move with their mom with their grandfather in this kind of like cabin, house situation. And so they hit the town of Santa Carla, this kind of like beach, pier area. And when they first hit the town, they go to there's this big beach concert, and this, the most 80s song being played by the great Tim Capello, saxophone player. He's muscly, he's oiled up, he's wearing spandex, he's rocking the longest ponytail you've ever seen in your life. Doing this pelvic thrust,
playing with his
and he's singing while doing the saxophone solos.
Yeah.
I'm like, that image right there is the most quintessentially 80s thing ever. Everything about it, and I love it for that. It's
he is basically a through line tonight of our entire podcast.
Yeah, exactly. He connects to our next topic. So that's what we do. We had to cover things tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love some of the cheese of it.
Yeah, and I love a good saxophone solo. It's like I accept it all of it in all of its glory. I'm like, give me more. And so that happens, and Michael sees this very attractive female across the way, and who kind of, maybe if not reluctantly, but kind of like they start flirting a bit. And that's kind of how Michael gets roped into this world of these strangers around town. And also at the same time, what's his younger brother's name?
Sam.
So Sam, played by Corey Haim, comes across a comic book shop, and that's where he meets the other Corey Feldman.
The Frog Brothers.
Edgar
and Alan. Frog.
Corey Feldman being so serious and trying. He's trying really hard to be a man. Trying not to show that he's hitting puberty and that his voice may be cracking a little bit. He's trying really hard to be.
But his brother's got a no voice.
He's like, listen, you don't understand what's going on in this town. Here, you take this. Take this vampire comic.
You think you know what's happening? You don't.
But I don't like vampire comics. Consider it an instruction manual. Blah blah blah. And so you're getting hints all the way that this bad gang, who you see at the very beginning of the movie, they're kind of riding this carousel, and you're like, these are some bad looking dudes. One of them is a very young Kiefer Sutherland, bleach blonde Kiefer Sutherland. And one of the other ones, the kind of lesser ones, I don't even know if he has.
Marco.
Maybe he has a couple lines in it. Bill and Ted, Alex Winter.
Yep, he plays Marco.
So with
his little curly ring, little curly rings, and a big jacket,
and a super long like hair extension, which totally looks fake. It totally looks like a hair. It does not look like his natural hair at all. But that's okay. It's the 80s. We're gonna allow this epic mulletness that's happening.
And then Billy Worth. Death by Stereo.
Yeah.
Death by Stereo. And then there's the Twisted Sister looking one.
Yes.
Whose name I don't know. The actor name.
They basically they look like an 80s hair metal band. It's that meme of like, don't act like you know 80s hair metal if you don't know this band, and it's a picture of those vampires. That would totally work for that. So yeah, that probably is a meme somewhere. Anyway, so that happens. Sam is finding out, well, what's going on? And while at the same time Michael is getting roped in with this group of bad dudes. And
all because the pretty girl.
Something is going on with them that's not quite revealed that they're vampires yet, at least not to them. Maybe a little bit to the audience it's hinted at, but
Michael's just attracted to Star.
Yes, Star. Her name is Star. Yes.
And for some reason she has a very small child with her all the time named Laddie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But you don't know quite what's going on with him either yet.
Yeah, it's just like this teenage gang with a little kid out at night on the boardwalk, causing trouble, just, being Rude.
Being ne'er-do-wells, being 80s ne'er-do-wells. You know when you're dealing with an 80s ne'er-do-well, when they dress like either hair metal or punk rock. It's like, in an 80s movie, it's like, oh, those are the bad guys.
Those are the bad guys.
Always. Yeah.
Yep. Like
Stereotypes.
Spike from
Anyway.
Buffy. He came from someplace.
It's also, yes, exactly. It should also be mentioned, this movie was directed by Joel Schumacher, and it has all of the homoerotic undertones that you'd expect from a movie directed by Joel Schumacher. So there's that. There's definitely something going on. Like there's definitely like scenes between the main like vampire gang, kind of Kiefer, him and Michael. It's like there's definitely there's some scenes that like you could set to different music and it could be taken as flirting for sure.
Yeah, it is sort of. So Kiefer Sutherland is sort of the lead of this teen young adult vampire gang, and his character's name is David.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So David is definitely sort of trying to seduce Michael into the gang. And it's more that seduction of like, join us, be one of us. You know you want to. But there's like a slight sort of sexy tone to it as well.
For sure.
Because they're both so hot. And Jason Patric is the actor playing Michael.
Yeah.
He's very pretty. Mm-hmm. He's very pretty.
And so,
these things helped,
Mm-hmm. Right. Start to inform your sexuality.
That star,
later in
she was very pretty. Mm-hmm. That Michael, very pretty. I was like, they are both very pretty. With their curly brown hair and their deep brown eyes.
Yes.
Michael's might be blue, I don't remember. The stars are brown, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's fun. There's pretty people and some good costuming. I mean, the sort of look and feel of the place is really neat because they're doing this sort of Northern California thing. They're making it a fictionalized city called Santa Carla, but it was filmed all in Santa Cruz, which is a beautiful place. And the boardwalk is still active there. I was just there in 2020 walking along the boardwalk, and I was just like, yup, still believe. I still believe. Oh, yeah. And it's the classic soundtrack. So it's one of those films that you can't imagine without its soundtrack.
Yeah.
The music is so
For sure.
carefully chosen and deeply embedded in the film, which we tend to talk about films that do that a lot. Like The Crow did that, and we talked about Drive. And, so it's one of those, it's an element, it's character. Like the music is important to the tone. Yeah. And then I think like the costumes and settings that they pick, like the spooky old house, spooky old massive log cabin style house that the grandfather has. And the grandfather's a taxidermist. So there's just like animal corpses
so that
horns and creatures like everywhere the whole film. You just open a closet and it's full of dead animals.
Yeah. Which the walls and the horns and the antlers play into the action sequence at the very end.
Role.
So there's that.
Yes, there's an important role and lots of good foreshadowing through the movie. There's lots of little things that come back around. So they're very careful about what they were planting. There's not a lot of things that are happening in the movie that are not really essential to the storytelling in some way. So there's different people that like pop up and you're like, why is this there? Oh, because they're going to get slugged by the vampires.
Yeah.
And I like that, effects were not so sophisticated. And rather than trying to blow a huge budget that they maybe didn't have on trying to figure out how to film people flying, that these vampires definitely fly. It's just the point of view of the camera. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's like point of view coming in. So you are the one flying. So
it's not,
when it turns
like
into
overly
point of view,
smooth either. You can tell they kind of
very
tacked it to a plane or whatever because they didn't have drones back then.
Yeah,
so
but even if you were really flying, you probably wouldn't be totally smooth either. Yeah. You'd be sort of doing wind currents.
But it's cool.
It's really
I
neat.
enjoy that because you would never see that be made the same way.
Now today. They would just always show you things. But this, it shows it like coming in on the people and hovering over the people that are going to be killed and whoop,
Yeah.
And it's cool because it's like you're inside that scene. And the cave where the vampire gang lives is an old hotel that had fallen beneath the sea level. Basically, it fell from up high down towards the coast during an earthquake, during the big earthquake of the 1900s.
Yeah, exactly. It's David, right, who describes that happening. And of course, because they're vampires, you get the impression they were probably freaking there when it actually happened.
They never really tell you.
They were telling you.
They don't really
go
into how long
but
this gang has been around. But it is, it's very much a family films, so like the relationships with the mom, Michael slowly realizing that he's been partially converted to a vampire.
Yeah.
Because as with many worlds of vampire building, you can be a half vampire, which means you've drunk their blood, but you've not taken the blood of a living human.
Right.
And so you're starting to convert, but you can either kill someone and drink living human's blood, and then you will finish the conversion and be a full vampire forever, or there may be a way out.
Right.
Which is common to a lot of the vampire worlds.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different rules for vampires. Like in this one, they don't really mind garlic, even though they play up the garlic thing several times. Yeah. The vampires are always like, doesn't work on us. But, holy water is very effective. Sunlight, very effective. With the full vampires, not the half vampires, can still be in the sun. Yeah.
And what was I going to say? I like that that in the Fallen Cave hotel, area where the vampires live, there's also this big picture of like Jim Morrison, and it's another thing of like they're vampires. Maybe they even met Jim Morrison at one point, but also it's like there's this shot where they like crossfade between Jim Morrison's face and Michael's face, and they're like almost like match up. Like
they're almost the same. Like Jason Patrick, the actor, definitely could have played Jim Morrison in the Doors movie, and also done a very good job. Val Kilmer ended up playing that. Val Kilmer did an outstanding job in that movie. He's amazing, but definitely Jason Patrick looked so much like, and it's like massive. The picture of Jim Morrison is like way larger than any even movie poster. It's so big. Must have been some custom piece because it's the size of a wall in the back of this cave. So it's a very prominent piece. It's very, very young Jim Morrison, very early. So it's very still that youthful thinness and stuff in the background of this interesting. I just love the set decorating. I love how that cave looks. I love how the boardwalk looks, the beach shots. They go out onto the train tracks, and the guys just go, yo, and like jump off the side, and Michael's left going, what? One by one, each of them drops off this very high up, going over a ravine in the mist at night in the dark. Again, I think they didn't have a big budget, so I think they were very creative about how they created mood, because there's a lot of mist on a lot of the beach scenes and sort of low lighting, like riding their motorcycles through the night. The first
that
night,
shot. And
everybody's going really fast. There's a lot of sort of
going really
mist
fast. They're about to go off this cliff, and they're going more closer and closer. Like, all right, I think he falls. His motorcycle falls over just before he's about to fall over the cliff. He
has to plan his bike and do a controlled slide to not go off the edge of the cliff. So that's his first night, and then his second night, he's up on this railroad.
They're dangling
bridge,
from this
and the
railroad
guys fall,
bridge.
and then he finally looks down, and they've all just dropped and caught, and now they're hanging below the railroad, and then the train comes over, so it's vibrating really, really, really intensely. And they're trying to tell him, like, you can come with us, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And
because before that, as you alluded to, Michael's basically tricked into drinking some of David's blood, because thinking it's wine, and that's how he starts to be converted into half vamp.
And right when he gets to the cave, I noticed this time that I'd never noticed when I was younger. There's some joint, there's some hand-rolled something that they're passing around. And right as Michael comes in and says, hey, you want some of this? And Michael's like, okay, trying to be cool and fit in. So he like smokes something. And then there's this scene where his mind's playing tricks on him, and everything that David suggests is what he sees. And then he's like, no, it's not like that. And it changes. And I was wondering this time, watching it, like, maybe that's like opium or something. Like they were giving him something to really get him out of his regular conscious mind and really intoxicated in some way, so that he was more susceptible to just like drinking this beautiful old bottle. And then it starts like, it's blood, Michael, it's blood. And he's like, psh,
he's psh. Like, fool me thrice or whatever.
He's just like, nah. And he drinks it. No, it is. It was Michael.
It was.
Michael, that was blood.
That was blood.
When the girl tells you it's blood, maybe don't drink it.
Right?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe listen.
Maybe.
But he doesn't. And
then we have a whole movie because of it.
And so then it becomes obvious, he's Sam's starting to listen to the advice of the Frog Brothers. He's reading the horror comics. He's seeing all the signs with Michael, how he's being weird, and how he's avoiding sunlight now. He's wearing sunglasses like all the time. And
sound is too loud.
Yeah, sound is too
light
loud.
Is too
Things
bright.
are
He's sleeping all day.
Things is happening, and so he learns in the vampire lore that in order to save his brother, the one chance he has, they got to kill the main vampire. So they got to figure out who that is.
The sire, whoever sired. They don't use that term in the movie, but
at the same time, Mom is going out with this
video store owner. She got a job
owner.
on the boardwalk at the video store. Yeah, I don't. Do we want to do all the spoilers of the film?
I mean, we're going deep on it, so I guess. So I mean,
Okay.
warning.
So
warning
there's some
now.
spoilers
So,
there. If you have never watched it, you know it's a vampire film. So we've spoiled that part, but we haven't given away everything in the storyline yet.
No.
We've sort of alluded to some of the major points, but we haven't really gone into it. So then if you want to pause this, go watch it, come back and join us for the rest.
Yeah.
But yes, so now we'll just
But it is a 40-something-year-old movie, so
30-something.
30-something, yeah. We're getting close to the 40th anniversary in a few years' time.
Yes.
Yeah. So the frog... For some, I forget how it happens that the Frog Brothers and Sam start to think that this guy Mom is dating could be the head vampire, and so they have dinner together and they start to do all the things of like, here, have a bunch, like accidentally put a bunch of garlic on his spaghetti, and
it's Parmesan cheese
accidentally spill holy water on him and see if he reacts to it, and none of it's working, and so they're like, okay, they're just embarrassing
so it
themselves.
wasn't him.
Now they're like, oh, so it's not him. It is him. As we later find out, and I even forget. Like
it's just his like one line towards the end. He's like, "Never invite a vampire into your house, silly boy. It renders you powerless." So they do explain why they have this whole scene of testing him with all the vampire things, and none of them are causing him any harm. So then you think, okay, well, it's not him. That's not the sire head vampire. And then he shows up with Mom in the final scene where they're trying to like kill all the vampires and get rid of all of them to free Michael and Star and Laddie. All three of them are only half vampires. The little kid, the girl, and then his brother are all just half vampires. So they're just going to kill their way through all of them, get rid of some vampires, and also hopefully let all of them be released.
Yeah.
And they do that in very interesting ways. Every death is quite different.
Yeah.
And then they still haven't changed back to being completely human.
Uh-oh.
And then Mom comes back from her date with the video store guy. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, Edward Herman, is that the actor's name?
Think so. He's both the father in Gilmore Girls, and he was Richie Rich's father in that movie. So.
Yeah. Big, tall actor dude. And he comes in and then he vamps out. And he was like, it was all for you, Lucy. It was all for you. The boys need a mother. So you realize the whole thing was they were trying to seduce this whole family and get the whole family integrated because the sire, the head vampire, was looking for a bride. He was looking for a partner. And he had these young sort of hooligan sons now that he created them as his vampire children who are young adults running amok. Like, boys need a mom.
There's a scene that hints at it early in the video store, right? The vampire gang are kind of walking through, and he kind of gives them a look like, I told you to get out of here, or something like that. It's like,
it's actually a misdirect scene.
Yeah, it is
because
kind of
they show people on the boardwalk being like, get out of here, these kids are bad, everybody's throwing them out of everywhere, and they show him throw them out. But it throws you off the scent. So there's a few things they're doing to throw you off, and then it is him. So it is, I think, effective when you first see the film. That like, oh, it is him. Oh, okay. Because those couple of misdirect moments make you think, oh, no, so discount it.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. A little bit of suspense about like, even, like what's going on. Is this going to
It had been a while since we watched it because you first introduced me to this movie. So we saw it like a couple of years ago, I think. And then we watched it recently to prepare for this podcast. I had forgotten that twist already. I had forgotten the twist
that he was him.
That it turned out to be him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was cool. It works. It's blood. It's
trick or treat wine glasses with kitties. I have a treat. Yes. He has treats.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So this is a fun one because like maybe we've said this before, I'm not sure. Neither of us are really big horror fans. Like, I'm not really big into slasher movies or like Friday the 13th, or I especially hate like Saw and all that like torture porn bull crap. Like, I really don't like it. But stuff like this, which has a little bit of that spooky like edge to it, but like in like there's scary stuff going on.
It's more suspense
than exactly. Where it's like that kind of stuff does scratch an itch for me, so like I really enjoy that about it. And also I really think this movie would never be made the same way today. God forbid they ever try and remake this. Don't, because we don't need a take for modern audiences. I like the 80s-ness of this version. I
think it stands up, because they didn't overreach what their effects could do. So they made choices to film it in a way that you understand what's being communicated in how it's filmed.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have weird, crappy effects. There's only a few scenes where the camera stays on them while they do have the ability to fly. They can leap. And like when Michael and David, the two young vampire guys, are finally going to meet in midair in the house, But they were doing that with the actors on pulleys. It's physical effects to get them to do what they needed to do. It's not CGI. Yeah. I think there's like a few green screen moments, like just a few. You can kind of a little bit tell that there was like a touch of green screen use, but it's very subtle.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to do everything with just physical means to do the stunt work.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it really holds up. It doesn't have that sort of cheesiness overreaching with its effects thing that dates a lot of 80s and even 90s movies when they got kind of ahead of themselves. And I mean, I realized at the time they were like, let's be innovative. Let's use this new thing. But I feel like with this film, they were like, no, let's be purist about this. Let's just film exactly what we can actually film.
Yeah.
And in this case, it works really, really well. Like it really serves the film well because it doesn't, it is kind of like a creepy old horror movie, but the whole synthwave genre is about really enjoying a lot of the things that emerged from that 80s aesthetic in film and in horror and suspense and in music and all of that. It was like the John Carpenter sort of movement of like gritty, realistically low budget shot, low budget reality, films that were created, like, is very foundational to synthwave as a genre anyway. So I feel like this sort of continues that tradition. But for me, I'm the same as Remy, that I don't enjoy just gore. I don't need to see people just hacked and dismembered only just because the point was to get a bunch of people somewhere so they could just be hacked and dismembered. Like, I really need something else going on. And not too much hacking and dismemberment. I will say that the new Renfield movie was an exception.
Yeah, we enjoyed that one.
There's a lot of hacking and dismemberment in that film, but I went to the theater to see it 2 times. Yeah. Like, I don't go to the theater.
Yeah, people get popped open and it's like
and the
people are made out of water balloons.
Stops.
It's like everybody's just a fucking water balloon. You just pop them and it's just
and you just pull hard enough and like whole like heads pop off, limbs pop off, and then they gush and they gush and they gush and they gush. And it's hilarious. And it's because it's not trying to be realistic. It's almost like a parallel reality where that's how bodies work, because they're so consistent with it, and it's so not realistic. But I that was an exception, the Renfield, because it was so silly. And even like Kill Bill's and Kill Bill 2, something like that, they have this, they're so over the top. I guess I don't really like it when it seems really realistic of people getting ripped apart.
Yeah,
it's like
same.
I'm not really into that so much.
No.
Yeah. But I really like suspense, and I like sort of supernatural thrillers.
But also, it's fairly simplistic with its storytelling too. Like, it doesn't feel the need to go overboard in the vampire lore and create. Like, I feel like you wouldn't have written that script today.
Few rules from a vampire comic. That's it.
Exactly. It's just like here you go. It's like that's all you need. That's all you need. And then the rest of them is
it's going to explain what you're going to see in the film, and then we're done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty tight storytelling really there. Like I said, almost nothing no scenes, no dialogue. Like, things are very purposeful. Like, every single thing is going to be important. It's going to come back, or it's going to show you something very specific. So I think that's something really cool about it. It was very tight storytelling, tight movie making, which I feel like people started to just jump the shark. They started just going crazy with 4-hour-long movies and 3.5-hour-long movies. They should be very tight, 90 to 120-minute movies.
Right.
With just really purposeful, very intentional, and very tight and good editing and the flow and everything. I feel like that just like things just started to like creep, just spread into all these like really, really long movies. You're like, this is not good enough to warrant being this long.
Yeah.
So I really respect that this is a very, very tight film because it comes from an era where that was much more the assumption.
Right, yeah.
Is that you're going to make really...
But now everything's going to be like 2 hours plus or, 3. It's like,
and they
stop.
don't need to.
They don't
like
need
that
to be,
Avengers Never-Ending Battle movie that I was like, this was basically one scene that I'm bored by, and they turned it into a really long movie. Oh my God, I'm never getting these 2 hours back. Or 2.5 hours, or 5 hours, or 10 hours, or whatever it was for this battle. It never ended. It was just the worst piece of crap. And like nothing occurred. They just fought for a long time. And I have no idea what happened, and I don't care. By the end of it, I didn't care, and it was as if I had never cared about any of it. And I basically had to stop watching all movies in that universe because it was like...
Yeah.
I am so bored and so frustrated and so disappointed by this. Oh my God. So yeah. That I put the opposite end of the extreme where I'm just like, now I want to destroy things because that wasted my time.
Right. So yeah, if you're looking for a good, tight, enjoyable
that doesn't waste your time.
Story that doesn't waste your time, maybe you, especially if you're into that just that right amount of 80s cheese, then I think this movie is for you for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it. Lost Boys.
Yes.
Good one.
Do you have a favorite line?
Ooh. I mean, what just came to mind is the moment at the very end of the movie. Again, spoiler alert: is Grandpa like after they fought all the vampires and killed everybody, and finally like they've
been hiding this whole thing from Grandpa.
They wrecked the damn.
They didn't want Grandpa to know that
the house in the process of trying to kill the vampires. The house is trashed. There's like weird blood spewing from the sink and everything, and the pipes, and it doesn't even look like blood. It just looks like mud, like poop water, frankly. whatever it's supposed to be. Anyway, so that happens, and the fight scene's over, and Grandpa's like, one thing I never liked about living in Santa Clara, all the damn vampires. And everyone just gives him this look, which everyone should be giving him at that point, like, really, Grandpa? You could have said something earlier.
And the movie ends on all their faces with these, like...
Yeah. That's the best. The Death by Stereo one is good. There's a lot of, I'm pretty sure that I know there not only is there a band called Death by Stereo, I'm pretty sure there's also a band called All the Damn Vampires. So yes, this has inspired a lot of musicians across genres.
Yep.
This movie, yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
And the soundtrack is so fun.
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole like, sexy teen gang, thing, that whole like, come to our side, be one of the bad boys kind of element of it, that kind of whole thing. So much fun. It's a good one. Yay. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out.